Hey guys, this video is about how to use the Photos app in iOS 26 to organize your photos, primarily using albums and using folders. So along the way, I'll show you some tools and some different ways of doing the same thing, but let's get to it. Photos app is in the lower right of my home screen, so I'm going to tap that. So one thing that people need to understand about the Photos library in iOS is that its purpose is to keep a permanent photographic record of your life. Now, I've talked to folks that have used Android, and I've never used Android, but my understanding is that the library has a little different purpose, and that is it's like a temporary bucket where you keep your photos until you organize them into folders. And I've never heard Android people talk about albums, but it seems that the so-called folder in Android serves the same purpose as an album in iOS. And that's not to say you can't make folders in iOS. You can, and I'm going to show you. But if you think about back in the film days when you put your physical photos into an album, it kind of makes sense that we keep using the word album, and that's what iOS does here. So no one puts their folders into a folder, like a physical folder, if you were living in the film era. But nevertheless, you can use folders, and I'll show you soon. One cool trick is, let's say you have years and years of photos, and you have an idea, you want to make an album, but let's say the photos go back several years, but you don't know what year. So you can use your fingers, pinch your fingers together on the screen, like so, and now you can just scroll and you can quickly access photos if you have a ballpark idea of when these photos were taken. So it has a little mark here for a year, so added 2025, anything below that is 2025. I don't have that many photos actually, compared to some people, but yeah, so 2024 is everything from that black bar down to the next one. Actually, I've got several. Oh, it's by month, so you can organize it by month, which is cool. So I like that chronological order, and that's helpful to me because I have a pretty good record in my mind of when things happened and where the photos were taken. So let's get to it. I'm going to take my fingers and contact the screen and then move my fingers apart from each other so we get a view kind of like this. And you can go to like 3 across if you want to, but I think 5 is good enough. So notice at the bottom you have library, which is where we are, and you have collections. So notice when I scroll like so, you don't see collections. Like look at the menu at the bottom, no collections, right? But if you scroll back to the bottom of your library, the word collections appears there at the bottom. So you have 2 major areas of your Photos app. It used to be in the prior edition that collections was just kind of mishmashed together with library, and it appeared at the bottom, and it was kind of annoying. But I like how iOS has been improved in this way. You've got 2 different compartments here. So let's tap on collections. Let's say I want to make a album. So I'm going to click on album, see where the arrow is next to the word album. So I'm going to click on that. And I'm going to hit the plus sign in the upper right. So I'm going to tap that. And I don't want to make a new folder right now. I'll demonstrate that later, but I'm going to make a new album. So I'm going to tap album. Great. Let's give it a name. How about, well, I went to Virginia to see my parents the other day. So how about I name this one Virginia? But you would think I could spell it if that's where I grew up, but evidently I can't. So Virginia. So I went down there for Christmas. So let's do that. And when did this happen? This was Christmas 2025. I'm going to click Create in the upper right. So tap Create. Bam. So there's my album. But there's nothing in the album. So how do I add photos? Well, let's tap on the album itself again. Here we go. We're going to hit the plus sign. And now it gives me access to my photo library. So here you'll notice that the most recent photos are at the top rather than being in the bottom like they are in my photo library. So how about I just select a few? I'm going to select this one, this one, this one, this one, and this one. How about 5 photos? I'm going to tap the check mark since I'm happy with that. And looky there. So now I have 5 photos in my album. Now if you press the play button, the iOS will basically make a slideshow on the fly for you. But that's not the purpose of this video, so just wanted to let you know it's there. Now, I can hit the plus sign if I want to add more photos, but I'm going to not do that right now. Let's say that later on, I'm going to go back, okay? And I'm going to go to my library. Tap library in the lower left. Okay. So let's say that I'm like, I want to add more photos to that album. How would I do that? Well, let's say that I know which ones I want to select. So I'm going to hit the select button in the upper right. So tap select in the upper right. And then I can hold my finger down on the first photo in the series that I want to put into that album. And when I briefly hold my finger down, I can then drag or swipe my finger across and then light up all the other photos that I want. So here's how it works. So I select one. There we go, perfect. It took 2 tries for me there, I'll have to admit it. But yeah, just with a little practice, you can get it. Saves a little time if you can just swipe and select all of them in a single gesture. All of them are selected that I want to add. So now I'm going to click the share button in the lower left. So that's the square with the arrow going upwards out of it. That is iOS's share icon. So I'm going to tap that in the lower left. Now you notice all the photos that I selected are already selected. If I wanted to go through and swipe through and select more photos, I could, but I'm not going to. So now if I wanted to share this photo or any of these all the photos that I just selected, if I want to do so by message or by mail, I can do so. As you can see, there are several options there. Or I could throw these into my Google Drive, or I can airdrop them. I can send them through social media and so on. But if I chose to do that, I could click options in the upper portion of my screen. Bam. And I could select any one of these. If you notice all photos data, if I tap that, that'll ensure that the recipient of my photos will get not just the edit history, but also the location data, like where those photos were taken. But that's not really the purpose of this video, so I'm just going to leave that be. If I scroll, look there, it says add to album. And I already made an album that I intend to put these photos in. So I'm going to tap add to album. And there's that album I just made, Virginia Christmas. So I'm going to tap that. Bam, they've been added. Now, we're in my library right now. Did you notice that those same photos that I just put in my album are still in my photo library? So remember, the photo library purpose is to have a chronological record of all your photographs that you've taken. And that stays. That is a permanent record unless you delete a photo in your photo library. So in other words, if you delete a photo in an album, it will also delete from your photo library. So let's check and make sure that this album has had more photos added to it. Let's click collections. Let's tap the new album, Virginia Christmas 2025. And there you go. Yep, so all those photos are added, and I just demonstrated how to add photos in 2 different ways, whether you're in your photo library part of your Photos app or in the collections part. Right now we're in the collections. So let's go to library, and let's say that I'm thinking I want to make another album. So, and I'm thinking about making a couple albums, but then also making a folder into which I could put those albums. So I recently visited my sister in Utah, so I'm going to select a whole bunch of photos. Let's say I'm going to tap select in the upper right, and I'm going to tap a photo, and I'm just going to select a bunch of these. All right, good enough. And now I haven't made another album yet, but this is another way to make an album kind of on the fly. So I'm going to tap the share button in the lower left. And the photos are already selected, as you can tell. Now if I wanted, I could go back and select more. Like I could add that one, so on. Yep, good enough. Now I'm going to add to album. So select add to album. And this is where I can add another album to my collection. So I'm going to hit the plus sign. And let's call this new album Utah Thanksgiving Thanksgiving 2025. Create. Cool. So let's check our collections, and let's tap that. Good. So my Utah Thanksgiving 2025 album is there. All right. So when I tap that, I can see that all the photos that I just added are there. If I tap the three dots up here, there's some other options that you have. You can add more photos by tapping Add Photos. If you want to do some editing of the album, we can tap the little square with the pencil icon in it. I can change the name of that if I want to, but I'm not going to do that. So there you go. Now let's say I want to make a folder. Let's say I want to give the folder a name, and I'm going to call it Family Holidays. So I'm going to hit the plus sign in the upper portion of my screen. So plus, and I'm going to add a folder. So I'm going to select the new folder option. Remember, the purpose of a folder is to organize your albums. It's not for organizing individual photos. It is for grouping albums together. So I'm going to call this Family Holidays, or maybe how about Holidays with Family? I don't know, something like that. Holidays with Family. Good enough. And I'm going to click Create in the upper right. So notice I have a folder called Holidays with Family, but I don't have any albums in there. So there are a couple different ways you can add albums. In fact, really, I think right now iOS offers only one way. And if someone wants to help me with this in the comments, please feel free to do that. My first intuition would be if I click the plus sign now that I'm in this folder, maybe I could add an album. But if I click New Album, I think iOS expects me to make a new album, which I don't really want to do that right now. So I'm just going to go back. And you'll notice there's the folder. And then next to the folder, I have my newly created albums. And why don't we just drag and drop. Now here's the tricky part. The gesture is a little tricky. So we long press on the album. You'll notice there's several options in the menu. We're going to ignore those. That's not really important to us. The gesture is what's important. So if I swipe up, like so, with my finger, like imagine, let's do that one more time. If I long press on the album and then swipe up, I can drop that into my folder. Bam. So you can see it shows the album inside the newly created folder. Now, if I swipe down, in other words, if I long press on this album here, if I let my finger drag and swipe down, nothing really happens. If you swipe to the right or to the left or up, then it makes this album draggable, if that's a word. So I'm going to drag that into my my folder. Bam. Now I've got a few other albums in here, but we're going to ignore those. I just want those two in that folder. Now if I tap on the folder, you'll notice there are my albums. So there you go. And if I tap on an album, I see all the photos that are in that album. So the organization hierarchy is photos go into an album, and then albums go into a folder. All the while, the photos remain in your photos library unless you delete the photo, the individual photo. So let's try to delete a individual photo, let's say in Virginia Christmas. So let's tap this photo. Let's say I want to get rid of this photo. If I tap the trash can icon in the lower right, notice I can either delete the photo, that is, delete it not just from this album, but everywhere. So it would be gone in my photo library, it would be gone from iCloud, and so on. Or I can just remove it from the album. So if I remove it from the album, it's no longer in the album. That picture right there looks very similar to the one I deleted, but it is gone. And so if I were to go to the photo library, I would find it's still there. But let's say that, here's another photo. Let's say I want to delete this permanently. Again, if you're wanting to delete it from your photo library and you're no longer interested in seeing this photo, and there I am holding up a sweatshirt there. So you can click delete, and it will delete it everywhere. So at least that's my understanding. Feel free to enter in comments if that isn't quite how it works, but that's my understanding. So now, could you delete an album? Yes, you could. So I'm inside my Virginia Christmas album, and I could long press on the Virginia Christmas album, and when I do that, I could just delete the album. And it asks me if I'm sure. Yes, I am. Delete album. Does that mean that the photos in the album are gone? Okay, well, let's go back to library. Let's tap library in the lower left. And I see all these pictures here. Here I am holding that sweatshirt. Here's my wife holding up a gift. So those photos are still there on my phone. They're in my photo library. And if I synced my photo library to iCloud, they would still be in iCloud as well. Because I did not delete these photos. All I did just a second ago was delete the album. It's almost like having clothing strewn out on the floor of your bedroom, and you decide to put them in a drawer, and then you decide, well, I'm just going to get rid of the drawer. I don't need the drawer. So you could take the clothes out, put them back on the floor, remove the drawer, but the photos still exist. So it's like the clothes are still in your room. You just got rid of the drawer. So you're getting rid of buckets, basically, when you delete albums or you delete folders. Now, we didn't actually delete a folder, so why don't we go to collections? Now, when you hit collections, it goes back to exactly where you were, which was inside of the folder called Holidays with Family. What if I want to delete the folder? So I long press on the folder. I can click delete folder. And it asked me if I'm sure. Yes, I am. Delete folder. Now, not only did the folder disappear, but the albums inside disappeared as well. I only had one album at that moment, of course. So the album disappears. Did the photos disappear? No. Those photos, as you can see, are still there. They're still there. So here are the Virginia photos right there. All right, cool. So that is how you use folders and albums to organize your photos. And so if you find this was helpful, or if you have additional comments, if there's something that you feel I should have included in these instructions, please do so, and our community will benefit from that. Thank you so much.